Four Midwest Guys presents
Hey guys, welcome back, episode 2, where we talk about
The race is on. This is our predictions for the Academy Awards. Hopefully you've tuned in with us for episode 1, where I gave you the rundown of all the what I think is going to get nominated based on the categories that already have the finalists laid out. Here we go a little crazy with the technical categories that don't give you any finalists. So I'm winging it here.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's getting a little crazy.
All right.
So
number 1.
and she's going to keep me honest again.
Yep,
Give me a timer.
we're gonna do 2-minute rapid fire of John discussing movies. So he has to keep it under 2 minutes so that we can just keep going and getting this out.
I could do this.
All right.
Let's start with a little crowd pleaser. We'll start with acting. Let's do Best Supporting Actress.
Go.
All right, and surefire, Laura Dern is going to get nominated for Marriage Story, and Jennifer Lopez is going to get nominated for Hustlers. Those are your absolute 2 surefire bets. Now, 2 other contenders that are incredibly strong in this category. Margot Robbie has got a really good shot at Bombshell. She's been in Darling since I, Tonya. And I also think Florence Pugh might sneak in, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Again, I apologize. But Florence Pugh for Little Women. I think there's going to be a late surge for this movie. Like, it didn't get very much for the Golden Globes at all.
No.
Not a lot in the Actors Guild, but it's now finally had a wider release. It's getting a lot more embraced. There's a big movement for Greta Gerwig to be nominated for director again. I think of all the acting choices, of course, you got to go with the sentimental favorite in Little Women with Joe. Those are my 4. So that leaves us with our 5th category of pretty likely.
50 seconds.
Here we go. All right, so we have Zhao Suzhen for The Farewell, Scarlett Johansson for Jojo Rabbit, and Annette Bening for The
But you can only pick
Report.
one.
I know, I can only pick one since I threw in Florence Pugh.
Right.
Scarlett Johansson does have a good shot at being a double nominee this year.
She does, but I think Farewell might have a bigger push.
It would, I think The Farewell might have a really big push too. So yes, I'm gonna say my 5th slot is gonna go to Zhao Suzhen for The Farewell. All right.
Next.
Moving on. Production design. I love this category. It's all the.
Do you?
It's my favorite. I
What
love
is
it.
it?
It's production. It's all about the building of the sets, the designing of the sets, making it look great.
Make it look pretty.
Yeah, make your movie look pretty. Give it character. I'm giving you a little extra time. Let's
you
go
pumped?
ahead. I'm
You
pumped.
ready?
I love it. Let's
All
do
right,
it.
let's
My
do it.
surefire nominees for production design are going to be Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for recreating the 1960s, and also for Jojo Rabbit for giving us a very colorful look during the Germany in the 1940s.
And a happier Hitler.
Yeah, like that's
Kind of odd.
It's odd and it works. Very strong chances are going to be for 1917 for having to. Guys, they didn't just go to a field and start filming. Like, they actually built those craters. Like, they dug everything in. They had to get the green screens just right so it would blend seamlessly into the set. It's a very intricate thing because you don't even think of it as a set piece when you're watching it. So that could sneak in, especially with a lot of support for the film. The Irishman. Yep. The Irishman has almost 200 locations. It's a 3.5-hour film, but yes, almost 200 locations. Most of them had to be built from scratch.
Wow.
And of course also had to fit a time period between the 40s and the 90s, right? Or 80s. So covering like almost a 50-year time frame in the film. So yeah, definitely a big thing to film. So those 4. Then my likely choices. We got Ford v Ferrari's got a Guild nomination. Little Women could get in there as well. Joker could get in as well. But I'm going to go for a very odd nominee here.
You better pick it real quick.
I'm going to pick it. You know what? I got 30 seconds and I think I could do it. I think Parasite is going to get the 5th nomination for production design.
That's a bold statement.
It is, because it's a contemporary film, but I think something about the design of the house. I haven't seen the film yet. I hope to see it soon. Damn it, I wish you would be interested.
No.
You?
12 seconds.
It's from the guy that made Snowpiercer. But yes, apparently the house, even from the trailer, looks good and creepy and unique. It's got a life of its own. I think it's going to get the 5th slot.
Barely made it by the wire.
I'm covering my favorite category too. How did I do that? I even got
2 seconds left.
I did it.
All right, moving on.
All right.
You ready?
Yes, next category is costume design.
1, 2, here we go.
Little Women, of course, period piece, costumes, pretty dresses, costume nominee, easy. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, recreating the look of the 1960s, which I had to depress my wife. She's like, oh, all they had to do is just like pick up 1960s. Like, well, think of it.
I figured they just go to Goodwill or, some thrift shop and
maybe
grab some clothes.
But when we were
kids, vintage.
When we were kids, maybe. But I had to break her heart and saying when we were kids in the 80s, designing something from the 1930s was considered as much of a feat as designing a film from the 1960s was today. Mm-hmm. So I think that could sneak in there. Those are our 2 surefire nominees. I also have a very strong chance for Dolomite Is My Name. And I also think Rocket Man is a very strong chance as well because, let's face it, you had to recreate the fashion of Elton John's stage persona for I don't know how many years in that film, but yeah, it's a flashy feat. If they nominated Velvet Goldmine, they can nominate this. And then that leaves me with one more nomination. So I've got 5 here. 5 of these. They're all very strong. All right, so you've got The Joker, you've got The Irishman, Judy, Jojo Rabbit, or Downton Abbey. A lot of people think Downton Abbey's dresses might win. It could get in. I'm going to call it now. I'm going to give the edge to Judy. Because I'm going to say it's going to be...
that's a good choice. I want to see that film.
Oh,
I haven't
yeah.
yet. I'm a big Judy Garland fan, so...
But yeah, like covering an older time period, and again, extensive time period as well, covering not just one time period, but multiple time periods, and of course a stage persona. I'm guessing they recreated a lot of her famous costumes from the films too. So
I'm excited to see it.
I'm going to say Judy's going to get the 5th nomination.
And that's all we got.
Hey,
3 seconds left.
All right. So.
All right, on to our next one.
All right, so on to our next one. It's going to be 1, 2. Oh, whoa, she's starting the timer. Sound mixing. Sound mixing is the mixing of the levels of the film. It's like too loud. Is it too low? Yes, I know.
Let's
All
go.
right, so the balancing. Surefires are going to be your war film with 1917 and your car film with Ford v Ferrari. Your period car film, too, so it's a very good chance. Very strong chances for both Rocket Man for having to blend in the music with the sound and everything. It helped Bohemian Rhapsody and A Star Is Born last year. So Rocket Man is going to be your 3rd nominee from sound. Your 4th nominee, quite possibly The Irishman. You got your, Scorsese loves to do stuff with music. He's usually pretty solid at getting a nomination. Yeah, like he's had like wins for The Aviator. Oh wait, no, he's nominated for The Aviator. Nominated for Gangs of New York, a whole bunch of films.
I think The Joker would pull that out.
Well, that's where we get into our likely chances.
More than The Irishman would.
Yeah, The Joker had a lot more, crowd moments and everything in that. There's a lot of chaos, which is fitting. Which brings me to my likely nominees for the 5th slot. Could be Joker, could be Rise of Skywalker. Every Star Wars 7 and 8 both got sound nominations each year in both categories. You have Joker, and you have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Both Joker and Once Upon a Time both got nominated by the Cinema Audio Society. So did The Irishman.
Sorry, yeah.
Oh, sorry. So...
30 seconds.
All right, so I'm going to say Ford v Ferrari, 1917, The Rocket Man, The Irishman. Don't try to say those together. Gotta go with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Because outside of Scorsese, the other director who's very solid at getting a good nomination, yes, Tarantino, for Inglourious Bastards, Django.
5 seconds.
It's going to be Once Upon a Time. Sound effects.
All right, here we go.
Sound effects is the design of the sound and how cool it sounded. So, of course, your war film, 1917, and your period car film, Ford v Ferrari. You always look at them to like coincide. Sound mixing, sound editing, usually, they're hand in hand. That's how you know a good sound design
film. So then all 5 should be pretty similar.
You would think, but that's how musicals sneak into sound mixing over sound editing. which is why a lot of us were very confused about Bohemian Rhapsody winning sound design last year.
True.
Should have been A Quiet Place.
Moving on.
Moving on to this year. Very strong possibilities.
There was no sound.
You didn't see it, so you wouldn't know. So very strong contenders. Again, Tarantino, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Had to have some design for that as well. Of course, the loud and full of sound effects, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, I think could sneak in there. So those are 4, and then we get to our 5th choice. So
We got a minute.
got a minute. Hey, I can take my time. Not too much though. So likely shots, Rocket Man could pull a Bohemian Rhapsody here and also get the 5th nomination, but it didn't get any noms from the Motion Picture Sound Editor Guild. Joker and Avengers Endgame did, and another one that did is John Wick Chapter 3. I would love to see John Wick nominated.
That would be
I don't
awesome.
think it's gonna happen. I would love to see it happen.
That would be awesome.
But that would be awesome.
But you know what? With all those bullets and everything flying around,
Oh, the crazy sound design.
in that like museum type
Oh,
fortress thing
oh,
that
the
they're
little
in.
glass thing and the and the,
Yeah.
the hotel lobby too. Just a motorcycle chase.
Gorgeous,
alone.
yeah.
We're John Wick fans. We're huge John Wick fans in this house.
15 seconds.
All right, but I have to say my 5th nomination is going to go to Joker.
Okay.
So. All right, so
All right,
moving
moving
on to
on.
our next category, which is Best Cinematography, or as we're going to call it this year, here's another one, Roger Deakins, 1917. That's basically locking in.
We're sorry we've missed you.
We're
for
sorry
20
we've
plus
shafted
years.
you since 1994.
Here's all the awards.
Here's everything, yes. You know what? A lot of people are just, getting a little bit snobby about it by saying, oh, he's just showboating now. He's just doing this. I'm like, you know what? Fine. He deserves to.
He's allowed.
Let him do it. You know? How much did everyone heap praise on Emmanuel Lubezki for Gravity and
I have no
Birdman?
idea.
Too much.
Okay.
Way too much. So you know what? I even told her the other day, I want to see Emmanuel Lubezki get nominated for the most obscure film this year.
Have we even
just
heard?
for Deakins.
Okay, so we know 1917's on your list.
Yes.
Because right now you're on a minute 12.
All right, so you want the other ones really quick?
Sure.
All right, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Robert Richardson is a solid choice, will always get nominated. There's your second. The Irishman, we saw a lot of great, crazy camera work with how they designed all the in-camera effects for the film.
We did.
I think Joker has got a really strong chance as well. He just picked up, Lawrence Shearer just picked up an ASC nomination, so I think he could sneak in here. I think we're going to see a pretty big showing for Joker this year. And our 5th nomination, so we could go one of 3 ways with this film. With this category, it could either be Ford v Ferrari, which was the 5th ASC nomination.
Okay.
It could either be The Lighthouse, which had gorgeous black and white cinematography, which we got 2 of those nominees last year.
Really?
Or we can go with Parasite. So, as much as I've been calling a Parasite sweep throughout the show,
Take your pick because you got 20 seconds.
oh, it's very easy. I'm going to say it's going to be The Lighthouse. So
okay.
they're gonna the black and white is
So
gonna.
you're
win
going to have
out.
the Roger Deakins all the way up,
Oh, there's gonna be
all
no
the way up here, and then the
no-
lighthouse kind of down here coming up.
No,
the
it's gonna
back.
be Roger Deakins all the way up here and everything else. As
Okay,
great as
that's
they
the
are.
end.
How am I doing so far? I mean,
You're fine.
I mean,
You had 1 second left on that one.
I know. I had to heap that extra praise on Roger Deakins. For you guys that don't know, he did Shawshank Redemption, Fargo. He's done so many great movies. A lot of your favorite films are probably shot by him.
Yeah. All right.
All right, moving on to the next category, which is film editing. Film editing is the overall pacing of a film, like how well it's structured and just how well everything flows on it.
Nice,
So,
okay.
all right, let's go with our surefire nominees. Start the
There you
clock.
go.
Our absolute surefire nominee is going to be our car racing flick, Ford v Ferrari, which, racing is just completely intricate to the, film editing is just such an important thing with the, once, how do I put it? It's just, the pacing, like when you have something going incredibly fast, it's just, you have to be on your A game with editing, because if the pacing's not there, if your angles aren't there,
Well, everything has to match up.
everything has to match up. So Ford v Ferrari is a surefire nominee. And I'm also going to say 1917, which, even though designed to look like one take, if you watch it closely, you can tell there were a lot of edits in the film. And the secret with this film
Interesting.
is knowing that it had to hide its edits. So it had to know where to put out all the edits to make sure it looked like it was all the way designed. So clever job, and that's the other secret of editing, is being invisible. Does not call attention to itself. But the other reason I bring up pacing is because I think that that's actually going to come to the detriment of The Irishman and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Both movies that are very highly regarded, but if anybody has any faults to say with it, it's always the pacing and the length. You know, a lot of people didn't mind it, other people did. I think it could, I mean, they're still going to get the third and fourth slot, but I think they could possibly get edged out.
Well, 35 seconds to tell.
All right, so who the fifth nominee is. Okay, so it could either be Parasite, Joker, Marriage Story, Jojo Rabbit, oh, was, never heard of that. Jojo Rabbit, and Uncut Gems, I think is a possible dark horse, depending on if there's support on the film, enough support or not. But if I had to pick the fifth nominee, I think it's going to be, the cleanly edited Parasite. So,
You beat the clock.
Yes, I beat the clock this time. All right, and supporting actor. You ready to get me going here?
2 minutes.
All right, and go. Supporting actor or surefire nominees are going to be Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Tom Hanks for playing Mr. Rogers in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Which is interesting that he's supporting.
You know, I haven't seen it, so I think he might be supporting, because I think the story is actually about the people interviewing him and everything. So, moving on from there, our third and fourth nominees, I think, are both going to come from the same film. Joe Pesci and Al Pacino in The Irishman. So that leaves us with who is going to be the fifth nominee. So that could be either Anthony Hopkins, who got a Golden Globe nomination, but when the Screen Actors Guild nominations came around, he actually got shafted in favor of Jamie Foxx for Just Mercy. Unfortunately, that film hasn't been making a lot of waves. So
who do you think is likely?
I think we're going to see another candidate sneak in here. A lot of people are saying Song Kang-ho from Parasite.
You're really big on that Parasite film.
You know, it's not me, it's the Academy. I haven't seen it. I really want to see it, but I think it's got the chance. It's gonna surprise a lot of people, because we always have that one foreign nominee every year that everyone's like, oh, what was that film? This foreign film is sweeping all the nominations, and you know, a lot of people see that subtitle barrier and they refuse to go see it.
40 seconds.
It's going to be Song Kang-ho. And with that draws us to a close on our episode 2 for the Academy Award nomination predictions from all of us, from both of us here at The Race Is On. Tune in to our next episode of episode 3, where we cover the Big 5.
Ooh.
Lead actress, lead actor, screenplay, both adapted and original, director, and picture. All right, and if you think anything else might be getting a nomination, I'd love to hear it.
Or if you think I should lower his time limit. Let's hear it.
I think we ought to raise my time limit for the Big 5, honey. I've done so well, I think.
All right. Tell us if you think if we should raise it, okay?
All right.
Bye.